Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Thank you all for joining us here today, and thank you for joining us live today too. We appreciate all of your feedback. We like the comments that we've been getting. I love the questions I've been getting in my inbox lately too. It's wonderful to hear from all of you. And just a reminder, coming up on Sunday the 29th, it's going to be 2 days before Halloween. If you're interested in coming out for a fun and interesting and reverent Halloween ritual, then please join us at the Grand Fountain in Flint. It's at 6 p.m. Bring your drum, bring a photo of your ancestor if you have anybody you would like to honor, and please bring a dish to pass as well. We should be done by 9:30, and if you want to learn more, you can go to Devana Bayou Grace's page on Facebook to learn more about that. Today, we are going to be talking about spiritual house cleaning. So I enjoy this type of house cleaning quite a bit more than other types of house cleaning personally, but both are very important, of course. So it's important just as much as you clean your house physically to clean it spiritually, clean it psychically, because if you feel like you have any stagnant energy in your house, if you ever feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like you have some issues with depression, if you feel like things just aren't moving around really well around you, or if you've just gotten into an argument with a significant other, if you have any of that type of emotional upheaval energy in your house, those are all times where it's essential to cleanse your house, to use some sage or use some Palo Santo wood. And I've had a lot of questions this year about how to do that specifically. So I thought I would do an actual demonstration of it today, because I think it's a lot easier to watch it being done than just to hear about it. And it's a lot easier to describe it in a video than it is to type it all out each time. So we are going to get started with my little bag of goodies here that I tend to take if I do a cleansing at somebody else's house. This is a bag I always bring. Some people get amazed at how much stuff can get pulled out of this bag. It's pretty light today, but I have sage. This is actually a larger white sage bundle. There are a lot of different types of sage. The concept of saging is actually rooted in Native American ritual, and so it has a lot to do with the earth. I think it smells really quite wonderful. It has and some people don't, I think it has a really earthy smell. Depending on the type of sage you use, some types of sage are stronger than others too. If you are really sensitive and you really don't like the scent of sage, or if you're very sensitive to smoke, then I recommend Palo Santo wood instead. And Palo Santo wood, it's a little bit harder to light, but it will light once you get it to catch on. You might need to light it a little bit throughout the house as you go. It doesn't mean anything negative if it goes out. That's one of the questions I get asked a lot. The stick went out. Does that mean something? No, it just means you need to get your lighter, your match, your candle, and relight it. It's okay. And so Palo Santo wood has a very mild, light smell. Whenever I go to do a seance at somebody's house, or I really don't normally call them seances, I'm hearing that word a lot because it's Halloween, but if I do messages from heaven or spirit galleries, I don't tend to use the sage because of people getting sensitive to it. I tend to use the Palo Santo wood. It's very light. It does the job. Still, if you have a lot of really heavy, really negative energy around your house, I really recommend doing the sage though, because it does seem to have a little bit more potency, typically, in my opinion. Palo Santo wood is great for maintenance too. Another thing, actually I do have a smaller bundle in here, I didn't think I did, but this is a more average size bundle for the sage. I think that's a California white sage for that one. And you can actually research too if you want to learn more about various types of sage. I tend to just go with sage as a general good cleansing agent. I don't complicate it too much. Another thing that we do for protection at our house is I actually have these crystals in all of our windows. The windows are a great area to have crystals so that they can just create a shielding, create protection, create a really positive energy to flow in. And so those are what I put in all of our windows downstairs at least. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and show you. So when I do sage, you want to always have a really reverent attitude as you're doing sage, because this is a Native American ritual. It's something that is really honoring the earth. And as you do it, a lot of times traditionally in Native American ceremonies, they'll use all 4 elements. All 4 elements are essential with this. So the sage represents the earth because it's herbs that grow up from the earth. And then you have the element of fire as you light it. You typically will want to fan it with feathers. Use feathers that have some type of meaning to you, if you have meaning with certain feathers. Some people I know will have a large bundle and they'll actually use all of the feathers together. 2 of my totems actually are the owl and the peacock, so that's what I'll be using today. This owl feather I had actually found while I was walking in the woods. It was pinned to a tree right in front of me. And then the peacock is one of my other totems, so I'll use that as well. And you just will fan the smoke with those. It doesn't have to do a lot. Traditionally, you're going to want to have the bottom side of the feathers facing down because that is the way they would naturally be as they're flying. I don't get hung up too much on all of the how-tos with that, but the feathers are going to represent air because the birds are in flight through the air. You're also wafting the smoke through the air. The smoke itself, if you don't use feathers, just the smoke itself really is the essence of air too because it's dissipating out into the air. Now traditionally, you would actually use an abalone shell, and I'm not using an abalone shell. I tend to like this little dish that I have because you're going to want to catch whatever ash falls from the sage. You're going to want to catch that in a little dish, and you want to dispose of that outside. Don't just drop it in your bin. You're actually going to want to send it back to nature. So any of the ash that comes off, just collect it in the dish and send it back out to nature. Now, if you want to keep it simple, you really don't need to use the feathers. That's just a more traditional way to do it. You don't need to use the shell if you don't want to. Sometimes I will use holy water afterwards if if I want to sprinkle a little bit of that on it. That can bring that water element into it as well. So make it what works for you, make it what resonates for you. But there are a couple of rules that I find really important that really do matter a lot with the energy. So using something like sage, using something like Palo Santalwood, and then the other main thing is to lift the energy up and out. So when you're saging, you don't want to draw it down. You want to lift that energy up and out, and you also want to start at the door typically. And typically you might want to leave either a window open or leave a door cracked, something where for one, so the smoke can escape out, but also so that all of that energy that you're stirring up, because the point of this is to clear out any negative energy, to clear out any down energy, any negative, anything that just doesn't serve you, anything you want to get cleared out, depression, anger, animosity, being stuck in a rut, all of those energies, that's what you're clearing out. So you want to have a space for it to go because you're stirring it up in your house. Just like if you're dusting your house, you're stirring it up, you're collecting it, and it needs to go somewhere. So having that door open, having the window open, somewhere that you can sweep that smoke energy out. And so without any further ado, so as you light the smoke, you're going to notice that it will catch on slowly. If you really, because we have people here, I don't want to get this really billowing. That would be up to you how you want to do that. But as you light it, you can actually use your feathers and just kind of fan it. That will help it to catch so that you can get it to take hold. And you're also going to take just a moment to say some type of a prayer or affirmation. Set your intention, what it is that you're wanting the smoke to do. So I would say something to myself about, and actually while fanning it, I bless this smoke. I ask that this cleanse and clear any negativity out of my home. I ask that this create a fresh start, fresh beginnings, clearing, letting go of anything that no longer serves, clearing, letting go of any negativity, bringing in love and light. And once that intention is set, then you're just going to start kind of right at the bottom corner of the door, and you're going to work your way up. Now, if you choose, you can have a feather in your other hand fanning it as you do it, or just keep it simple. And so you're going to stir that up. As you're doing it, you're repeating to yourself, I cleanse, I let go of any negativity. Every corner you go to, you're going to start right back at the bottom and go up to the top. just doing this kind of swirling motion here. And then periodically you want to just tap that off so that the ash goes in the dish. And then when you come to a window, that's where you want to do, if you want to create a symbol, you can draw a symbol in the window, you can draw a heart in the window, whatever it is you want to push out. We'll get into more advanced techniques after I go through the basics. So you'll just kind of go through the window. You can keep it simple, so as you've gone from the bottom to the top, and then you just keep those circling motions through the window as you go across, repeating to yourself again, I cleanse and clear and let go of any negativity. I release any and all negativity. Anytime you get to where there are some darker spaces, where this is a little bit darker in this corner, you're going to want to really focus in a little bit more. Maybe blow the smoke. Blow it into that area, because dark areas is where it tends to kind of collect a little bit. That's where some of that negative energy, some of that stuck in a rut kind of an energy will collect. And then you go across that window again, paying attention especially to really clearing out that window space. And then you're just going to continue to go all along this wall. Now, a fireplace has another opening to the outside, so I'm going to pay a little bit more attention, starting at the bottom, swirling that energy up, and then imagining it actually sending white light up all the way through the chimney within your mind's eye, just visualizing that. That might be another area where you blow that smoke through again. Just continuing to go straight across the wall. As you get to the window, you're going to draw a symbol if you want to draw a symbol, or just go straight across. That next corner, you're going back from the bottom up to the top and just visualizing a white light. So you're going to keep doing that as you go throughout the entire house, just visualizing that white light, saying within your mind's eye, saying to yourself, I cleanse, I let go of negativity, I release all of this, I release any negativity, I create space. And then you're going to do that throughout your whole house. So if I were actually doing the whole house right now, I would go in through each of those rooms, coming back out, because this again is a darker area right here, then starting with the bottom, through that corner, paying special attention to those areas, cleansing it, going through the entire area. Now, if you have a multi-level home, you're going to want to start in the basement. You want to start at the bottom, work your way up to the top, kind of the opposite of dusting, because you're pulling the energy up. So you're starting in your basement, going to the first floor, second floor, third floor, whatever levels you have in your house. Start at the bottom, bring that energy up. As you're using the sage, you start at the bottom, you bring that energy up. So then you end up back at your front door to finish this off. And so when you get to the front door, you're going to want to just kind of circle that energy across. A lot of times at the front door, I'll actually start back all the way at the bottom, really visualizing a beautiful, brilliant white light, seeing that smoke. And then I'd actually open the front door and then just kind of sweep it out. So you're going to want to get that smoke nice and strong again as you're ready to sweep it out. And then almost like you're using this as a broom, and you just sweep all of that out. Imagining that everything that you've gathered, any negative energy, anything that's doesn't feel good, anything that's stuck in a rut, argumentative, any type of negative energy, it's all gathered together, and then you just sweep it right out the door. You might even step outside depending on how the energy feels, so you might step outside with it and sweep it off. There are some traditions that will actually sweep their porch off with a regular broom after they sage. A lot of the African traditions, when they do it, they'll actually go out and sweep off the front porch and feel like that actually finishes cleansing out that energy. Now, those are the more basic techniques of it. You can do a lot more with sage too, or the Palo Santo wood, either one. But when I talked about doing the symbols on the windows, you can really do a lot with symbols. So if you just want to do that first basic part that we talked about, where you go through your whole house and you cleanse it, you just go across the front of the windows, back down each corner, you go up to the top. Anywhere there's angles on the walls, you just cleanse that bottom to top. But if you want to add something extra to it, then at the windows, what I would recommend is figuring out a symbol that means something to you. If you're Reiki attuned, you can do a Reiki symbol. If you resonate with the Star of David, do the Star of David symbol. You might want to do a cross if you resonate more with Christian or Catholic faiths. Or you can do the 5-pointed star if you want to represent each of the elements, because sage has a lot to do with each of the elements, as we talked about. If you're drawing that 5-pointed star, that's really bringing in earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. So you're bringing in all of that natural element, as well as that love, that light, that spirit energy. And when you do that, when you're drawing at the windows, and if that sage goes out, just go ahead and light it again. As I said, I really didn't want it to billow with everybody here today. But anytime it goes out, just go back to reciting that mantra, I cleanse this space of any negativity. I bring in white light. If you want, you can do that whole basic step that we said, going straight across, down to the top, and then you can go back through and do your windows a second time with the symbols, or you can do the windows as you go through the first time. And then so if I was going to do the Star of David, I would just draw those 2 triangles, and then you see it with the smoke. You just visualize it in your mind as you're drawing it, and then use your breath, because the breath is very powerful, and just blow it out. And imagining that you've drawn this either brilliant purple light or brilliant white light, and imagining that you've got this brilliant light that curated with the smoke, and as you blow it, it goes all the way out to your property boundaries. Now you can do a heart if you want. Oftentimes I'll do a heart shape, and I'll just imagine that love energy going all the way out to the property boundaries. Whatever energy you decide to draw, you're filling your home with that energy, and you're sending that out to your property boundaries. So it's not only cleansing for you, it's also very protective for you too. And you can even send that light out so that it will have an essence that will carry beyond your property boundaries as well. I tend to just do it straight to the property boundaries. So you would want to do that at each of the windows if you want to do the advanced techniques with the sage. You can also sage yourself. I think it's really important to sage yourself periodically before I do any type of a ceremony or anything like that. I'll always sage myself and sage the other people that are with me. And when you sage yourself, there's a few different ways to do that as well, depending on what tradition you go with. I tend to do it where I'll have the person stand like they're a star. If I'm just by myself, I'll do it to myself. And you start at your foot, and then you come up to the top of your head. So you're starting down and you're drawing that energy up. Then you go back down to the other foot. You come across to your shoulder, across to the other shoulder, and back down. And I usually like to finish it off with a big circle and end right up at the top, because that just kind of feels like it envelops everything. It brings in that essence of earth, air, fire, water, spirit, that love, and then it draws it all the way back up to the top. I just feel more comfortable that way with it. And then I tend to also do it under the feet too. There's a prayer, a smudging prayer that is really beautiful if you want to look that up. And it's where you smudge your hands, and you ask that you state that your hands be cleansed and clear for everything that you build and create to be from a pure stance. And then you do under your feet. May your feet be cleansed and clear, so the path you walk upon is cleared for you, and so that you may be stable and strong. And then it comes up to the heart. May your heart be full of cleansed and clear and full of love. May your throat be cleansed and clear, so that you may speak yourself clearly, and so that you can have your voice be heard, so you can listen clearly and speak clearly. And may your head be cleansed and clear, so that you can think clearly, so you can have that connection with the divine. And then it just goes on to talk about a blessing for the whole person, for the whole area. It's beautiful, beautiful. Maybe we'll post that down below here too. And so that's just another thing you can do with sage. Often before I cleanse my house, I will cleanse myself, because I think it's important to start with yourself and then move outward. So I'll cleanse myself, then cleanse the house. The other thing you can do with sage or with the Palo Santo wood is you can actually cleanse your crystals. So if you do work with crystals, you can actually cleanse them just run that smoke all around the crystals. And I tend to follow the shape of the crystal. So if I were cleansing this rose quartz, I would just swirl this sage all around it, starting at the bottom, working my way up, and then imagining that there's just this spiral that continues up with that smoke. Now when I'm going over to these crystals, the blue represents water. So if I was doing this, I would kind of visualize a white and blue energy, almost like waves, going around, just cleansing this whole crystal, again, spiraling it up, and then breathing that up. You can use, again, you can use the feathers to just kind of add to that smoke then. With a fire crystal like this one, where that one, the water crystal I did like waves, this one I would focus on it being more like flames. So I would see that transformation. Fire represents transformation. So I would see that energy just building and spiraling all around it, kind of starting at the bottom, working my way up, spiraling it up out of the top. So you're always, whatever it is you're doing with sage, you're always starting at the bottom, working your way up to the top, sending that energy up and out. And you can do that with all of your crystals. There are other things you can use too. White copal resin is another Native American one that's a really great cleansing agent. That's and it's a resin. You can burn it like an incense, so you could actually just put that inside one of your incense burners. This one's really tight. You would actually just put a piece of it in here. You could light it. And just even having white copal resin in the house is very cleansing. So just having that in the space. If you have a corner of your house that just seems to collect that negative energy, throw some white copal resin in that area. Burning incense is also very cleansing too. A lot of the Buddhists tend to burn incense all the time because incense has that fire that transforms the space. It transforms the energy. It cleanses everything out. So Nag Champa has a very high vibrating essence to it. It's the, when I do incense, that's the one I tend to go to because it is very high vibrating. I equate it to frankincense oil because frankincense oil is a very, very high vibrating oil. So Nag Champa incense would be one that I would recommend for that. And with that, I think we covered most of the basics and some of the advanced techniques as well for saging your house. I do recommend doing it about once a month. If you feel like you need to do it more often than that, then do it more often. Sometimes if you have repairmen out to your house or different people that maybe aren't in your normal circle, you might feel their energy has lingered, and so that's a good way to just cleanse that energy out. I talked to somebody in one of my classes last week that she refinishes furniture, and so she gets antique vintage furniture. Well, belongings can keep that energy of their owners oftentimes, and so she said sometimes she notices that she needs to sage the piece of furniture or sage her house after she brings in certain pieces because it's retained that energy. So just kind of try to learn to feel and notice how your house feels and notice when you need to do that cleansing. It's great to do at either the full moon or the new moon, depending on if you're trying to build that love, that positive energy in your house, or if you're trying to really eliminate a lot. If you're really trying to eliminate a lot and get rid of and clear some major energy, then do it as the moon is going down and nearing being a new moon. If you're really trying to build energy up, if you feel like you have a low energy and you're just trying to get that stagnant energy out and really build a feeling of good positive energy, then do it as the moon is waxing and getting near full. So for your advanced techniques, if you don't want to pay attention to all of those little details, that's fine too. Just know that whenever you feel like you need to do it, it's time to go ahead and do it. And I hope that helps you all today. So enjoy, and please remember to like our Facebook page, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that little bell notification button on our YouTube channel to get notifications as often or as slight as you would like. And we hope that you enjoy our videos. Please give us any comments and feedback. We love to hear from all of you. Thank you so much.